If you've got a child that's moving into a more independent phase of life, but you're struggling to know where the line is between I want to help and make sure they don't get hurt, but I don't want to be too interfering, or you keep trying to help, but all it's really causing is clashes, they don't want to hear what you've got to say, I've got a couple of thoughts for you that I hope are helpful, if I can get through it without crying. An inbuilt thing for a parent is that we don't want our kids to get hurt, and sometimes that's what's going on. That's why we're intervening. However, we also know when there's things like learning to ride a bike or learning how to climb on a climbing frame, we eventually, in order to teach them how to be able to do this on their own, we eventually have to be able to let go. We start by holding on, we step a little bit further away, and then eventually we have to let them have a go on their own, despite the fact that they might fall off and they might hurt themselves. For me, a really helpful idea with this is the difference between needing to help and being available to help. And the more independent a child gets, the more important that is. So when they're very, very small and we really need to help, they need us too. So it doesn't matter, like I can hold on to the bike, that's fine. But the more independent they get, they don't want me to hold their bike necessarily. And actually, the more I'm trying to tell them what to do, like that pedal technique or watch that bump or whatever, they might find themselves getting frustrated. Like, hold on, I know what I'm doing. Can you leave me alone? And you might be thinking, well, you don't know what you're doing because you haven't looked out for that pothole, have you? It's there where some of the clashes can occur. So if you can see something coming for your child, like they're not putting much work into their coursework, I can see that they're not going to get the grades that they want, or they're not really preparing for this job interview that they say they really want, how's it going to work? Or they haven't made the application yet and the deadline's coming up, what's going on? The temptation could be to dive straight in there and to tell them what to do and make sure that they avoid it. But what am I supposed to do if they don't seem to want to take on board my advice, or if it feels like all I'm doing is interfering? Part of the difficulty of being a parent is knowing that if we eventually want them to ride their bike independently, they're probably going to have to fall off in order to really learn how to do this well and competently. And actually, with things like, what's the consequences of not putting your work in? What's the consequences of not preparing for a job interview? What's the consequences of leaving things to the last minute? Sometimes the only way for them to truly learn that is to get it wrong and to feel the disappointment or the pain of that. That doesn't mean we have to abandon them. That isn't me just going, you do what you like on your bike. It's me watching from a distance and knowing that when they need my help, that they know that they can ask for it and they know that I'm here. Some of this is about language. So needing to help, you'll just dive straight in, you'll say, what you got to do is this, why aren't you doing this? If it's I'm available to help, it will be, you know, you can talk to us about any of this at any time, don't you? Or, I've got a few concerns about what's going on here. I'm a little bit worried that you're going to end up disappointed and I've got some thoughts. Do you want to hear them? The difficult part is, of course, they might not want to hear them. My daughter did that to me recently, and I was there going, what do you mean you don't want to hear them? They're brilliant ideas. It's very hard watching them cycle further and further away from you, but you can't stop them from getting hurt. What you can do is give them as much guidance as you can and make it really clear that if something happens, you're there.